Audio log number 1, galactic stardate April 8th, 23,255. The following set of audio logs are recorded by Republican Inquisition Master Gent. Today, with Mistress Lotta and Master Bohr, we have touched down and set afoot on the planet of Melopos. The reports and hearsay were correct. The lost colony of Settlement 5 remains in disarray. There are no survivors, and there is nothing left untouched or unrated. Considering the 8-foot claw marks and acidic remains on the dead, we can confirm that this was a primitive Bliskevi tribe attack. Now, a barbaric attack such as this by an uncivilized species is tragic, though predictable. Since the ceasefire with the Novan Imperium 8 years ago, our capacity to retaliate has remained weakened. May the ruin of Settlement 5 be a testimony of the greater need for settlement defense resource commitment on the outer rim colonies of the Republic. The nearest fleet is 300 million miles away, and even then it is understaffed and undergunned. Perhaps creation of new star fleets are needed. The previous theory being perpetrated by Republic partisans, that being a rogue Novan Imperial battalion coming from their nearby colony and attacking, is preposterous, given the abundant evidence of a Bliskevi tribe attack. Mistress Lotta, Master Bohr, and I will begin our restoration of Settlement 5 tomorrow. Besides the ruined town, the planet is lush and marvelous, and the atmosphere is ripe for life. I myself plan to settle here once my restoration mission is done, and hopefully I can get a proper tan away from the Mechanicum planet of Mars. End of Audio Log 1. Audio Log 2, Galactic Stardate, October 14th, 23,255. We have re-established contact with the Nova settlement, and they have suffered from savage Bliskevi attacks as well. We are glad to report that, like us, they are committed to preserving the lasting peace between our two great civilizations. It is clear that it is best to coordinate with the Novans to preserve our colonies here on Melopos. Our restoration mission is underway. Mistress Lotta has restored the power systems across the settlement, Master Bohr has begun reconstruction of the ruined buildings, and I have busied myself with the purging of the remaining organic material. However, the recolonization of Settlement 5 seems to not be in the scope of reality anytime soon. Planned colonization missions should be put on hold until the situation is secure and when the Bliskevi threat is curbed. Again, there is no threat of Novan interference at the ruins of Settlement 5. End of Audio Log 2. The following audio logs are not for public disclosure. If you have come under the possession of any audio logs after number 2, you are to immediately submit them to your closest Republic official. Possession of the following logs without authorization bears the mandatory punishment of purge by fire. And remember, your local Republic crime watcher is watching, and they are listening as well. Turn it off now. Audio Log 3. Galactic Stardate, October 15th, 23,255. The true nature of our mission on Melopos is, as of now, inconclusive. On our trip to the Novan settlement, we did link up with our insider. And he did provide us with what I suppose can be classified as enemy technology. It was this. Lotta? As you will see, this is not the super weapon that we were promised. This is in fact a shoe. Now, I pressed our turncoat, pleading if this was a joke or a trick. Yet after threat of death and exposure to his Imperial commanders, a fate far worse than death, I feel I have the authority to affirmatively say that this is the technology that the Novans value so highly. According to the turncoat, its powers are very specific. This shoe can erode the mind to numbness and blackness. It can bring otherwise stable beings to a state of paranoid, manic hysteria. It can destroy the ability of men to see clearly and control the thoughts and actions of live beings, make flame and ruin fall from the sky, and most worryingly, it can bring about unending war. Further investigation is naturally required, and it will be occupying our entire time here. In other news, Mistress Lauda has spotted foodstuffs that had been raided from Settlement 5 coffers after being eaten by Novan settlers, confirming that it was a Novan attack. Despite this, I have faith. Master Bor served in the North Confederation Wars, the anti-piracy campaigns of 33, and helped purge many planets during the Red Blight Plague. Mistress Lauda has led our research team through Acid Storm recovery and into hostile Xeno territory for artifact recovery. I have full faith in their ability to handle any threat that dares to challenge the Republic. And that we will understand the nature of this. End of audio log 3. Audio log 4, Galactic Stardate, December 24th, 23,255. Our investigation has led us, so far, nowhere. Mistress Lauda has run every test available to us. Organic signature tracing, radiation and temperature analysis, string particle measurements. And all have come up blank. The shoe, under all available forms of measurement and analysis, appears to be nothing more than as it presents itself to be. Master Bor has begun the process of reverse engineering the object using 9D printing, so we may begin more invasive measurements, though he does so reluctantly. He is of the not unreasonable opinion that this is a ruse, a trick by the Novans, and he does not want to continue our mission. With the help of Mistress Lauda, we have convinced him to continue his modeling, and I hope it will last. The rather simple nature of this item terrifies me, and yet it also brings me great calm. By this time tomorrow, our first audio log will have reached you. And I hope you have found it well, and I hope that the media will find it sufficient. You understand, just as well as I do, that they cannot spread the rumors of Novan interference and Novan conflict anymore. Life here otherwise is a drag. It is cold. It is dreary. And the artificial light of the test chamber is dulling. When our research is done, the three of us have agreed to flee this hellish planet and put as many stars between it and us as possible. End of audio log 4. Audio log 5, galactic date March 3rd, 23,256. Our investigation continues, though I grow ever worried by the day. In the beginning of our journey, Master Bor and Mistress Lauda woke with smiles and cheery banter. These are now replaced with weakened scowls and deafening silence. We are no longer companions or acquaintances. We are now co-workers. And weak ones at that. Mr. Slaughter was averaging 4 analytic tests per day in our beginning, and now I count my lucky stars if she manages to complete one. She groans and growls at any mention of our assignment, bags heavy under her eyes, and her hair in disarray. It seems I have contracted this as well. Master Bohr has provided us with plenty of duplicates for research, 12 in total. In fact, as the days go on, he produces them at a much faster rate. However, this is only due to the fact that it is his copying machine doing the work and not him. Master Bohr has transitioned to open protest of our mission. Last month, the 9D printer malfunctioned. And for a firm 24 hours, he refused to begin its repairs. Now, he finally managed to get to work the next afternoon, after a threat of reprimand. Of all people to become belligerent, I would not have expected it from Master Bohr. Naturally, Mr. Slaughter's sloth and her continued testing has only exacerbated Master Bohr's defiance. At this stage in our research, I am contemplating all options, including giving them a short adjournment away from work. In any case, the current efforts will not do. And I can't stop myself from wondering, what if all of this really is just for a shoe? End of audio log 5. Audio log 6, May 22nd, 23,256. The mission is a disaster. I acted out my plan and sent them both on a week-long break away from their assignment. Upon the first day, they both slept into the late afternoon, only arising to refuel with food and powder stimulants. Mr. Slaughter's bored, exhausted, and unsatisfied look did not fade. I'm saddened by the change. She was one of the few members of the Inquisition research team to bring genuine passion. Of course, her situation is far less dire than that of Bohr's. The night after the vacation ended, as we returned to our work, Bohr appeared frazzled, gripped at his hair and whispered to himself, constantly pacing and shaking about without end. Just a shoe. Just a shoe. It can't just be a shoe. He had grown obsessed with figuring this thing out, and his ramblings seemed to imply that much. I have never seen the otherwise put together and stoic master act so odd. Bohr, at approximately 2200 hours, kicked down the door of the front and mounted a hover carrier. He sped towards the Novan settlement, and he kidnapped our turncoat, bringing him back to Settlement 5 at gunpoint. The insider complained of beatings and shouts of anger and distress from Bohr, who demanded an explanation from him. Lauder and I pleaded with Master Bohr to relax, although predictably it was fruitless. Bohr was far gone, and the insiders' doubling down of the power of the shoe certainly did not help. With a fury that would make gods tremble and a booming shout, Boar placed his plasma caster to the insider's head, and he pulled the trigger. The master then collapsed to his rear, and as he sat there, he laughed. He laughed hysterically. Lada and I heavily debated what to do with him. Upon both agreeing he showed sufficient signs of madness, Boar was purged by flame. He did not stop cackling, even as the flame charred and bubbled his skin. That night, soldiers from the Novan colony came to us with weapons, explosives, demanding an answer as to where their man went. We spun a tale that Boar had contracted Mad Blitzkavee disease and acted out because of it. We showed the charred body, though we both are unsure if the Novans believe us. For the time, however, it was enough to stave them away. The loss of a third of our workforce will naturally set back our progress. Master Boar was one of the greatest inquisitors I knew. More so than that, he was a friend. And I am already regretting having to lie to his family about the nature of his passing. We are no closer to understanding the shoe. End of audio log 7. Audio log 8, September 13th, 23,256. The situation is undeniably dire. I was correct that the Novans did not believe our story about the disease. 4 nights ago, in the dead of night, we came under attack by a band of 8. Our defense system sounded. I deeply thank Lada for getting them back up and running, or we surely would have been destroyed. She and I armed ourselves with our personal defense plasma cannons and took up our defensive positions. The Novans let off an explosion on the piecemeal armaments we had constructed, and they stormed through. 3 of them were slain in our first volley, and the rest of the 5 scattered. While the degenerate Novans are not known for competent military tactics, the particularly undisciplined behavior of these attackers leaves me to believe they were simply armed regulars. We stayed behind battlements that were hastily thrown up last night and continued to fire. I flayed one with a lucky shot, and another was bombarded as he tried to run between cover spots. The rest of the 3 nearly hit us with a volley, but with our more focused firing, they were forced to run and were shot down. Since then, we have improved our defensive positions and drawn up battle plans. Progress on the shoe has, needless to say, completely halted. Our distress signal has been activated, and we hope evacuation is close, though considering our nearest port is in New Petrograd, 300 million miles away, I do not have faith that it will be soon. The mission is a disaster. and I am deeply embarrassed. We are no closer to understanding the nature of the shoe. End of audio log 8.
Audio log 9, October 4th. We are under total ground and air assault. Settlement 5 is in a state of expectation. We have armed ourselves but are quickly losing ground. Mission is a total failure. Audio log 10. Galactic date, October 5th. 23,256. The settlement is abandoned. I have escaped into the nearby fauna after we were entirely destroyed. At the height of the hour, starships jumped into the atmosphere above us, and they began orbital artillery. We rushed to our battle stations, and after the artillery stopped, a full enemy battalion rushed through the obliterated wreckage. Lada, bravely threw herself forward and attracted the enemy, leaving me to escape. Of course, not without grabbing the superweapon. Despite Lada luring the enemy, I have sustained damage from the orbital bombardment and the enemy fire. My eye was shredded. Shrapnel embedded into my arm, and my leg was sliced in 2 places. I believe I have protected the item from any damage. Which I suppose means that our mission is still active here on Malopos. Though, considering all of our research equipment, instruments, and data was either obliterated or stolen, I doubt I can finish it. The Inquisition has lost 2 of its greatest advocates. Numerous resources have been poured into Settlement 5, and the enemy has won a military victory. And all that I have to show for it is a fucking shoe. End of audio log 10. In my weakest moment, here, groveling in the dirt and the weeds, perhaps it is fitting that I have my epiphany. It all makes sense now. All of it makes sense. Firstly was Master Bohr, usually the strong and stoic fighter of the Inquisition. His mind reduced to madness and manicness. Then was Mistress Lada, usually the brightest mind in all the Inquisition's research team, reduced to numbness and boredom. My eye stolen from me, shredded, turning me blind. Great balls of fire raining from the sky as if it collapsed. And I suppose if the shoe's prophecy is to be fulfilled, that war has broken out among our great republic and the degenerate Novan Imperium. Which means that I have brought Armageddon. Through this here superweapon. Tonight, I will purge this item, this shoe, that it will never be thought of again. And then I will go back to the ruins of Settlement 5. And I will make my last stand. May the Republic emerge victorious. End of my last audio log.